everybody. Welcome to CEO Chat here on RVN Television. My name is Al Cini.
I'm Joe Osamendi.
And Joe Osamendi, today we're talking about an old high school classmate of yours. His name is Benjamin Franklin. and representing Benjamin Franklin, we have a really terrific guest. Angelo Valletta is the president and CEO of Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Northeast PA.
You have that right.
Yes.
A great organization with a terrific value proposition, and it's our honor to have you on the program to talk about that. So,
thank you.
So let's start right off the bat.
Sure.
What does Ben Franklin Technology Partners do?
Sure. Well, first, if I can, thank you so much for having me here today. The honor is really all mine.
Total pleasure.
I know you two gentlemen for a little bit now, and so just thank you for having me here today. And to talk about the great Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Northeast PA. Really, what we do is we have a mission that's three-pronged, right? So one is we invest in early stage organizations. So we invest in entrepreneurs and their companies that are all technology based. So think life sciences, think traditional technology, software as a service, applications, things of that nature, all surrounding the technology arena. But in concert with that, we also invest in established manufacturing firms. That's the second phase of our mission. So those traditional manufacturing firms, from candy manufacturers to heavy metals and industry and things of that nature. So as they want to lift technology in their organization, we will invest in those programs. And what that does in both cases, one helps create jobs, the other with focusing in on the manufacturing firms is to ensure that we save our jobs. So we'll create efficiencies and productivity from an early manufacturing company. And then the third prong is our community involvement, educating from a technology perspective within the communities that we serve. We invest in various incubators, and we have one of the largest incubator networks in the country. We have 12 others. We have two, Ben Franklin, that's our headquarters, and our Tech Ventures, which is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. They will also have our regional headquarters for our incubator in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. It's not coincidence that they're both connected to and near two wonderful universities, Lehigh University and Bloomsburg University. So a lot of the connections that we have with those early stage manufacturers is to connect them with great faculty and students to help them with reprocess engineering or projects, and we're able to bring those individuals and those companies together to, at the end of the day, create jobs, and create jobs. That's our key for our great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
What kind of criteria do you look for in a company?
Yeah, that's a good question, Joe. Thank you. We look for an individual that, one, has a great idea, entrepreneurs that are coachable, that want to learn from individuals that have been there and done that. We have invested in hundreds and hundreds of organizations, and it's very key for us to be able to understand a founder in regards to how they're wired, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and of course, whatever technology or process or new invention is very key from that perspective. So that's what we look for into an entrepreneur. Someone that has a great idea, of course, someone that has a nice business plan, and then someone that is coachable, because we've been there and done that, and we want to help and give that experience to others.
Well, that's great. As you're talking, Angelo, I'm picking up on words you're using. You're using the word investing a lot, which is logical.
Sure.
But you're also using the word connecting a lot, which maybe is a little bit more subtle. I mean, a lot of innovation is about being connected with the right people who can help you at the right time when you need it.
That's right.
There are an awful lot of companies in northeastern Pennsylvania, maybe all over the country, that are operating in an isolated way. And the more they know about the community they're in, the better connected they are with everybody, the more likely they are to stay in the community that they're in. And you've told us some great stories about that. How do you help with that?
Yeah, you know what? I'll talk a little bit about our incubators. Right? So our incubator in Bloomsburg, as well as Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, that's one of the key aspects of our incubator, is to have organizations that have either wet labs, their offices at an incubator, and there's a lot of mind share from that perspective, right? So, and one of our responsibilities is to bring organizations together, to communicate, to have that mind share. We bring not only our companies together, but our incubators together as well.
Right.
So we bring individuals from an incubator perspective that helps those organizations at our Tech Ventures or in our regional center in Bloomsburg. So we'll have that collective mind share to share information. We also have had a couple companies that bridge together and merge together because they've seen synergies from that standpoint, which is very good. And then the third thing is we'll attract organizations to our incubators in Northeast Pennsylvania. And Al, we were talking a little bit about an organization that we have that is working on an invention that is going to change the model of testing for urinary tract infections, right? So this gentleman had he was living and was headquartered in the South. He knew about Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Northeast PA, because his wife grew up in the Lehigh Valley. Wow. So knew a little bit about Ben Franklin, made a call. He uprooted his organization, moved it to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, not only from an organizational perspective, but this is now his home in the Lehigh Valley. And his organization, Thread Therapeutics, what they do is bringing the technology to test for UTIs, urinary tract infections, in the physician's office. Actually, there's two prongs to that. And, I shared with you earlier is that, this is near and dear to my heart because at the end of the day, a urinary tract infection killed my father late last year, right? Barring COVID and everything else, he had a bout with dementia and so forth. And unfortunately, the urinary tract infections that he just kept on getting for various reasons, it was a challenge to find out the strand and also being able to test easily, right? So what Thread is doing is putting the power into the physician's hands to, within 20 minutes of your doctor visit and giving a sample, they'll be able to tell you if you have a urinary tract infection or not. And then eventually phase 2 is to find out which strand, which is just as important because there's different antibiotics that's going to treat a particular strand. This gentleman uprooted his organization, moved it to Bethlehem because he knew that we'd be able to support his organization and be able to support it from a wet labs perspective, an organizational and incubation standpoint, and help connect him to the right people. He actually, we have a little thing called Venture Idol. It's a cross between American Idol and Shark Tank.
Oh, really?
Okay, cool.
And so what we do is we have venture capitalists come in and as a panel, and then we were able to have 3 or 4 presenters. They're the cream of the crop, so to speak. And Thread Therapeutics won our event this past October. So
wow,
it was wonderful, great invention, great organization, and we really look for big things from them. So talking about connecting, that's what it's all about.
That's
is
really
to be able to
critical.
bring people and organizations together, and I think we do that wonderfully in northeastern PA.
That's
Can
great.
you explain the process of an engagement with Ben Franklin?
Sure. So I'll talk a little bit about the early manufacturer. So I talked a little bit about the early stage or early stage organizations that need some help and spin it up. We like to say we're early pre-seed stage from a capital perspective. Their balance sheet is not investable from a financial institution, but we are. That's why we invest in those early stages. That's easy, right? So, but in our early our established manufacturers, Joe, it's key that we not only create jobs on the front end, we don't want jobs going out the back door with our established manufacturers because they haven't implemented technology or did not have the funds to implement technology. Take a look at what's going on from a COVID perspective. A lot of dollars that have been needed to be implemented to ensure for our safety and health of our workers and so forth. So we'll put dollars into projects and connect those individuals from a established manufacturer's perspective, Joe, connect them them with the right universities that have experience and world-renowned professors, and then their students as well, to help with maybe a process re-engineering, new technology implementation, say for like an ERP system, something like that. And a lot of some of these established manufacturers, you just can't pull this stuff off the shelf, right? You can get a base technology. There's a lot of custom development that needs to happen, and we'll assist them with that from that standpoint. So we'll invest in a project. The established manufacturer then is able to implement a project, implement, say, a software or hardware or whichever be the case.
Right.
Now jobs are being retained, and maybe we can add jobs to their current footprint because they become more efficient from a cost perspective.
That's a big deal. I'm listening to you talk. I know eventually I want to talk about the coaching services, because that's
Sure.
I think that's a game changer for a lot of companies. But we've got companies out there that are listening to the story. They know that you save companies, you save jobs, and you save lives by helping people bring products to market that make a difference to people. So we know why companies ought to connect with Ben Franklin Technology Partners. We know, but there are people out there who could also help you, and we want to make. There are sponsors out there who could support your mission, who could become engaged and help. What's your message to them?
Sure. We have two main events during the course of the year. One, typically in the April-May timeframe. Our iExchange is happening in May 18th. And what we have there is we honor a half a dozen of our organizations with different awards and so forth. So we get sponsors to help us from a monetary perspective put the event on. It's all virtual this year. It's all free as well. So please, visit our website. Just do a search: Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Northeast PA. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on, of course, we have our own website and so forth. But at the end of the day, we have our iExchange, and then we also have, which I briefly mentioned, our Venture Idol. Like I said, it's a cross between American Idol and Shark Tank, to where we're putting some of our brightest and best in front of venture capitalists. And they have received an incredible amount of capital infusion in their organizations to help make them grow. So we're able to do that on the back end. And that's really where the coaching comes in, Al. From that standpoint, is that especially our regional managers, Wayne Bars, who is our chief investment officer, manages all of our regions. And Pennsylvania is set up a little bit differently. We're a very large state, right? So we have Philadelphia, and we have Pittsburgh, and we have Ben Franklin's in each one of those locations. We have Central PA, which is Harrisburg, going up to State College and so forth, and then we have Northeast PA going all the way up to the most northeastern part of Pennsylvania. And the key is that our Northeast is very big, right? It's 21 counties in Pennsylvania. So we actually have 4 distinct regional managers that are in the communities that we serve, that is in the fabric of the communities we serve. We have one in Reading and Berks County. We have one in Bloomsburg, which I mentioned, our incubator. We have Lehigh Valley, and we also have the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area as well. So it's very key that we not only understand the geography that the communities that we serve in Pennsylvania, but really what they do in those communities. What's happening in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre is different than what happens in Bethlehem and Allentown, right? So and that's the beauty of our Commonwealth from that standpoint, right?
Well, we need to take a break. But before we take this break, there's this guy who's sitting here with us, Angelo Valletta. If you're in northeastern Pennsylvania, no matter what the nature of your work is, you want to reach out, you want to get to know more about Ben Franklin Technology Partners, and reach out to Angelo, and we'll be right back with more CEO Chat and Angelo Valletta after this.
Don't go away.
Kinda new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
sidewalks built for fun. Legendary rock and roll clubs.
This is how we do it. Hip hip hop.
Casinos by the ocean.
Hip hip hop.
Now that's New Jersey. 130 miles of beautiful beaches, solid rock, and everything in between.
Look in the window.
Now that's New Jersey. Plan your New Jersey trip at visitnj.org. Waves of fun. Nights of excitement. And a trail of memories. Now that's New Jersey.
Welcome back to, this is a terrific CEO chat. Joe Esamendi,
Elsini, good
what
to
a
see
pleasure. And Angelo Valletta, who is the president CEO of Benjamin Franklin Technology Partners for Northeast Pennsylvania. We spent the first half of the program exploring the programs and the thrust and the mission of Ben Franklin. But it's named after a guy that, knowing you for as long as I have, Angelo, you remind me a lot of the way we understand Ben Franklin, the entrepreneur, Ben Franklin, the inventor, who always took upon himself the mission of uplifting the business community that he was a part of. How do you live up to a role model like that?
Boy, besides Joe going to high school with Ben Franklin,
Yes,
besides that,
Which I taught him he was a senior, by the way.
yeah, that's what it was.
Franklin was a freshman.
No, we could not have taken a name that that embodies innovation, helping others, being able to connect others. He was a master connector, right? They didn't send him to France during the American Revolution for no reason, right? He was able to connect and build, right? Understand where to garnish the investment into our Revolutionary War. We wouldn't be here having this conversation if it wasn't for great men like Ben Franklin, right? So, so we innovate and try to follow from those footsteps, from that perspective. But one thing that we do at Ben Franklin in Northeast PA is that we have an incredible culture, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that. And I know we spoke about it, but I should say that I just started with Ben Franklin in January, right? So the first Monday of the start of this year, I started. And I am following in the footsteps of an icon in Northeastern PA. His name is Chad Paul. He owned his own telecommunication company back in the 80s and the 90s. Sold that company and took over the helm of Ben Franklin and created, innovated, and vision for Ben Franklin over the last 2 decades. He was there for 19 years. That really is awe-inspiring from my perspective. It's one of the things that drew me to Ben Franklin.
That's great.
And it's really the culture, the individuals that he put into place. And there's a little saying internally that says, once you start working for Ben Franklin, Northeastern PA, that's where you're going to retire. And it's a wonderful culture. And actually, the genius of our board was instrumental in that fact as well, because very important that they wanted to bring in an individual that would not only understand the history, accept the culture the way it is, because it's just so integrated within the things that we do, and very important from that perspective. That one of the things that they wanted to do is bring the new CEO on and have a 3-month transition with the current CEO. Chad, to his credit, put his retirement on hold to be able to make that happen. Right? So he retired on March 31st, and what a gracious, humble man he is to be able to really kind of educate me start to go into background and is there as a special counsel for me anytime I want to give him a call. It's just a
real big
genius
deal.
from that standpoint.
I'm calling this out because it strikes me as so important. We live in the 21st century. The 21st century has technology unlike any prior century.
Sure.
So we live in a different world, and yet we're continuing a tradition that started what started the country can work for your company.
That's right.
By partnering with Ben Franklin Technology Partners. That feeling, that tapestry, that culture, I think is so critical.
Well, that's for sure.
Great.
That investing side, the innovation side, bringing people together, connecting, having a space that is world class, that people can go to, explore that mind share like we talked before. It's incredible. I have to pinch myself every day to make sure that I'm not dreaming of this
I was going to ask you,
incredible
you love this.
opportunity.
You love
I'm
this
having a
little bit.
blast, quite honestly.
That's great. And what is it about it you love? Because this gets us into Angelo Valletta.
Thank you.
How do
I
all those
appreciate it.
roads lead here?
Yeah, you know what? And talked a little bit about culture. But more importantly, it's the people that make up the culture at the end of the day, right? 20 plus year folks that have lived and breathed and loved Ben Franklin. And we're starting to integrate a new set of individuals, young folks that are coming into the organization with 10, 12 years of experience. My biggest challenge over the first 18 months, and Chad warned me that there's going to be a couple retirements coming down. People work 40, 45 years. They work and they deserve to be able to spend some time with their grandchildren or travel or whichever they want to do, right? So I knew that going in. It was not a surprise. My first retirement was actually on my leadership team. My chief information officer, Aaron. Aaron retired. He's going to be retiring in June. But with that, we were able to really scour the technology environment and bring in an individual that I can't share her name with you because we're really in the early stages of putting the offer out. She accepted, and she'll be starting in mid-May. But she's going to be a rock star for our organization. Her attitude, the culture that she brings to the table, her experience in nonprofits, her experience with running an organization as well from a technology perspective. It checked all the boxes. And I'll tell you, she outperformed 3 individuals that had more experience than her, had different technology credentials than her. But we picked her because she wanted to be at Ben Franklin, and she was able to fit into the culture.
That's wonderful.
That's so important because,
Absolutely.
on paper, resumes say something.
Yeah.
But you have to have that feel for that person, being able to integrate that seamlessly into your company and be, right from the go, workable.
So it's the people at the end of the day that, and I was told that the skill sets and the individuals were A players, and you don't. It's not that you don't believe it, but you want to see it first, right? I like to evaluate. So my first 3 months, and really, yesterday was my 100th day, and the first 100 days has just been spectacular as it relates to working and integrating with them. Not only Chad being there to help from a coaching and ambassadorship, but also working with my leadership team and every single individual on the team. So it's about the people. So even before I started, so in December, I asked our executive professional, Evelyn, to connect me with every single person in the organization. I just wanted to get to know them. My job was to integrate into the culture, not change the culture. So I wanted to understand that. So very early on through the month of December, and Evelyn was able to figure out how to get all of our schedules coordinated, and she did that. But it was probably one of the best investments that I made into the organization even before I started. Nothing about strategic plan, nothing about their jobs.
Get to know each other, and that's.
Let me understand you as a person.
I'm bringing this back to you because, first of all, that whole idea that it really is about people is people pay that a lot of lip service. A lot of people never follow through on that. You are a guy who follows through.
I try.
Yeah, and the fact that you say you try also indicates that you've got a certain amount of humility, so you know what you don't know, and you're eager to learn that. And that's why you like to talk to people. You're a listener, which is a huge quality. But before the program, you were telling me by analogy that a car's windshield is bigger than its rear window. Right? That's optimistic view of the future, always looking ahead. Talk a few minutes about that before we wrap up the program.
Sure. Al, you know what? You said being a listener, and it's one of the things that I truly try. Probably maybe not on this program because you're interviewing me, right?
It's about you.
My mother would say to me, Angelo, you were God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you speak, right? And I try to live that because you learn so much from that perspective, and if you're open to that, right? And it brings me back to the analogy of the windshield, is to be open, to look forward, right? Always looking forward. Use the small windshield in your vehicle to understand your challenges, understand your mistakes. You can't be good if you don't make some mistakes in life. Understand that and let that drive you in the car by looking forward and understanding what's out there. It helps you understand the situation that you have from that standpoint. I think that is key from that standpoint. I really kind of lead with two things in mind, right? And I call it my 2 S's. One is situational and servant, right? So my leadership style is I will look at a situation. I try not to have any bias. I try to look at the individual as how they're wired, what makes them tick, understand what that. I'm not saying you don't make the hard decision.
Sure.
If you don't have a quality player and they're not doing their job, you got to make the hard decisions. And you know what? That's part of the situation, right?
It is.
The team looks at you to make those hard decisions, right? And the team knows
They know what you have to do.
beforehand
They
what
know
you're
what
supposed
have
to do.
Yeah, they know what you have to do.
And if you listen, you'll be able to gain that knowledge quicker, right?
And you're doing everybody a favor, including the person who may not be performing up to snuff. I mean, it really is a good thing for everybody.
So a lot of, and then the servant leadership for me is there's a lot of talk and wonderful words like emotional intelligence. And I truly believe in that because you have to lead with a certain amount of servitude, right? Be humble. Know that you're there. And one of the mantras that I tell people all the time, and that are on my team, or maybe I tell a waitress or a waiter that has given me great service, and I'll say to them, maybe one of these days I'll be working for you. And what I mean by that is that if I am blessed to have you part of my team, you know that I'll be working for you every single day.
Every single day. That's it.
That's servant leadership.
And I hate to end this program because it's such a great conversation, but we're at that part of our program where you get to look into your camera. If you're a company out there in Pennsylvania, especially northeastern Pennsylvania, and if you don't know anything about Ben Franklin Technology Partners, fix that now. And because of the events and because of their connections in the community, you want to sponsor them. Angelo, tell them how to reach you.
Great. Feel free to reach out to Ben Franklin. We are on all the social media from Facebook to LinkedIn. Just do a search for Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Northeast PA. It's chock full of information as well as how to connect with us. And if you're an organization that is in another part of the country and you're looking at relocating into the great state of Pennsylvania, please look us up. There are 4 Bens throughout the state. 1 out of Philadelphia, 1 out of Pittsburgh, 1 out of Harrisburg, serving the State College area in central PA, and then, of course, northeastern PA, based in Bethlehem, right outside of Allentown, all the way up to the 21 counties that make up northeastern PA. Please take a look at us, and I'm always there to take the phone call. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.
What a very super uplifting CEO chat. Such a pleasure, Angelo. It was great having you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thanks all of you for joining us. Make sure you reach out to Angelo. What a great guy to know, and what a great resource Ben Franklin is. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Joe Assamendi and...
Is
that who I am? Thanks for joining us today on the CEO Chat. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Be kind to each other and use common sense and enjoy yourselves.
Peace be with you. Take care.